Revenge.
I was in the middle of saving my family's company, when my older brother slid a folder across the boardroom table and said, "Security will escort you out." 10 minutes later, my badge didn't work. 20 years of loyalty, deleted with a vote I didn't even know was happening. What he didn't know. That decision triggered something far bigger than a family fight. Because in 3 weeks, the bank called an emergency meeting. And they weren't asking for him. I was halfway through presenting a recovery plan when my older brother cleared his throat. "Before we continue," Grant said, sliding a folder across the polished conference table, "there's a governance matter we need to address." I knew that tone. Polished. Prepared. Dangerous. I opened the folder. Board vote, immediate removal of Callum Mercer from operational leadership and board oversight. My stomach dropped so fast it felt like an elevator cable snapped. Mom sat 2 seats down. She wouldn't look at me. One of the outside board members gave me a tight, apologetic smile. The other pretended to read his notes. Grant leaned back. Calm. Practiced. "This is about moving the company forward. I built the operations of this company from the ground up. And I was erased in under 10 minutes. Security will help with badge deactivation," Grant added gently. Gently. Like I was a visitor. I didn't argue. That was the part that confused everyone. I packed my laptop while department heads watched through the glass walls. The HR manager followed me like I might steal office pens on the way out. When my badge stopped working at the front door, the beep echoed through the lobby. That sound stayed with me. Outside, my phone buzzed. "CFO, he rushed this. The bank's nervous. Call me tonight." That was the first crack in Grant's perfect victory. Dad used to sit me down at the kitchen table with spreadsheets when I was 16. "Anyone can talk big," he'd say. "Cash flow tells the truth." Grant got Dad's charisma. I got his caution. Before he died, Dad pulled me aside in the hospital. "Grant needs vision," he whispered. "But you keep the wheels from coming off." I didn't realize until years later that Grant heard about that conversation. And he never forgave it. That night the CFO laid it out. Grant had stacked short-term loans on top of long-term debt to fund a flashy automation overhaul. Payments spiked next quarter. If performance dipped even slightly, the bank could intervene. And Callum, the CFO, said quietly, "The loan agreement requires experienced operational oversight on the board." I laughed once. Not because it was funny. Because my removal wasn't just personal. It was financial dynamite. Grant was always the public face. I was the one getting phone calls at 2 a.m. when a supplier shipment went missing. He gave speeches. I fixed disasters. And somewhere along the way, he started believing applause mattered more than stability. The new automation line Grant bragged about. Still glitching. Production managers had warned him. He accused them of resisting innovation. Now deadlines were slipping. And I wasn't there to quietly patch things together. The hardest part wasn't losing the job. It was losing the identity. Friends avoided picking sides. Mom stopped returning calls. I'd given 20 years to a company with our name on the building. And I left through the side door. Then a supervisor called. "Callum, payroll might be late." Mercer Industries had never missed payroll. Not once. Grant started posting leadership articles online. Bold transformation. Letting go of legacy thinking. Legacy thinking was me. Industry contacts began calling, quietly. Not to hire me. To ask what was going on. A major client asked to meet privately. They didn't order food. Grant asked for prepayments, the CFO of that company said. "That's not how your family does business." I nodded. They leaned forward. We stayed with Mercer Industries because of you. That hit harder than the board vote. A competitor reached out. Senior operations role. Stability. Respect. Autonomy. I stared at the offer letter for an hour. Then I remembered security walking me out like I didn't belong. I signed. At the new company, I did what I always did. Listened. Fixed bottlenecks. Paid vendors on time. Word spread. Quietly. One of Mercer's suppliers asked if we had capacity for overflow work. I made sure legal approved everything. No secrets. No poaching tricks. Just reputation. Grant accused me publicly of sabotage. That accusation made board members start asking questions. Mercer missed performance targets. Bonuses froze. Morale dipped. Grant blamed transitional inefficiencies. The bank scheduled a formal review. Not routine. Formal. Mom finally came over. Grant told her I planned to push him out. She believed she was protecting family unity. She showed me Dad's will clause. Operational oversight had to include someone with direct experience. Grant had replaced me with a college friend who sold software. The bank wouldn't like that. The covenant breach was real. The bank began asking governance questions. Grant started holding closed-door meetings. Transparency vanished. Engineers started leaving. One joined my firm. Completely above board. But symbolically, it hurt Grant. The bank issued financial penalties. Grant told staff it was temporary. But fear spread. A private audit revealed he'd approved high-risk contracts solo. Board trust shattered. The bank scheduled an emergency session. Industry perception flipped. I was steady leadership. Grant was reckless expansion. Recruiters began calling me for board roles. He stopped being the golden boy. Grant called. No arrogance. Just strain. Have you been talking to the bank? No, I said. Your numbers did. Silence. Then, would you come back? Temporarily. I didn't answer. The bank laid it out. Governance failures. Operational instability. Loan risk. Then they asked the question that changed everything. Why was your most experienced operator removed? Nobody had a good answer. Board members admitted they'd been pressured. Information had been withheld. The bank suggested restructuring leadership. Grant lost day-to-day authority overnight. Access restricted. Decisions reviewed. Staff found out within hours. The whispers were loud. Grant looked smaller when we met. I thought Dad trusted you more, he said. I had to prove I could be bold. You proved you could be reckless, I said quietly. For the first time in our lives, he didn't argue. The board restored me to operational leadership under bank restructuring. Grant kept ownership. Lost control. Employees stayed. Vendors returned. Stability came back. I didn't burn the company down. I saved it. He fought for the spotlight. I fought for the company. In the end, only one of those things actually mattered. 3 weeks after regaining control, an auditor slides a thick file across my desk. Callum, there's something your brother did before you were removed. I opened it. A hidden contract, massive penalties if production drops. The first penalty date is next week. The contract involves a new supplier Grant secretly locked in at inflated pricing. If I cancel, Mercer Industries owes millions immediately. I realize Grant set this up knowing I'd return. It's a trap. I call the suppliers to renegotiate, but they resist. They're loyal to the letter of the contract, not the company. One supplier hints Grant promised personal kickbacks. Engineers and managers are stressed. Production is down. Rumors circulate, Callum fixed everything before, now it's worse. My most trusted manager hints Grant left other hidden clauses. Grant secretly signed side agreements with financial penalties. I realize this is why the bank almost pulled loans. If the board finds out, Grant could still legally ruin us. I met the CFO to map damage control. Numbers are worse than expected. If the next production milestone fails, the bank can call the loans. A payment deadline triggers an immediate $2 million penalty. Grant's reckless signing nearly collapses cash flow. I got a call from a lender, we need a full report by tomorrow. Grant calls me. He says he can help the company weather the fallout. I remind him, you created this. You can't fix it. He threatens to go public with misinformation if I cut him out, his final power play. I consulted our attorney. All clauses Grant signed benefit the company if enforced properly. No illegal activity, but he can't touch the company without oversight. The attorney suggests the board take formal action against him. I called a private board meeting. Members are nervous. They respect me but fear Grant's reaction. One board member leaks, Grant's side deals could trigger personal financial exposure. I realize Grant guaranteed some contracts personally. If the contracts fail, he's liable. The bank discovers this and requests a meeting with him, personally. The bank schedules a formal review with me, the board, and Grant. Tension explodes. Grant thinks he can charm the bankers, he underestimates their scrutiny. Competitors get wind of Mercer instability. Some suppliers hint they may cut ties. I know the next few days will decide if the company survives. I outline a meticulous plan, renegotiate contracts, stabilize cash flow, remove Grant from any operational influence. I'll do it step by step, nothing reckless. I propose a final solution, all executive authority is restricted to me until all penalties expire. The board approves unanimously. Grant is now sidelined completely, but still technically an owner. Grant's industry reputation is ruined. Banks refuse personal guarantees. Suppliers demand full transparency before working with him. He sent me one last email, you won, but I still own part of the company. I implement new governance rules to prevent any future abuse. Employees and suppliers trust the leadership again. The company grows steadily, profits return. Grant wanted to prove he could run the family company alone. I proved leadership isn't about ego, it's about responsibility, foresight, and protecting a legacy.